What's up, you guys? It's your girl Angela, and I'm back with another video. We are going to skip the long intro on this one, and I'm just gonna hit you with a like, comment, and subscribe. The same trifecta I always ask of you, because I am in a mood right now. I am on one. I just finished watching part 2 of my Dr. Phil special, and I definitely feel some type of way, so I just want to jump right into it. So some of you may or may not know, I was just on 2 episodes of Dr. Phil that just aired yesterday and today, and I filmed this right after I got off the couch watching episode 2, and I got some things to say. So let's just jump right into it because I can't even hold my tongue anymore. At the end of August, I was contacted by the Dr. Phil show. Well, I wasn't contacted, my management was, and they let me know that Dr. Phil was interested in having me on a plastic surgery episode. Now, if you know me, you know I'm very open and honest about my plastic surgery journey here on YouTube as well as my social media, so I was just a perfect fit for the show. Nala, I'm filming, honey. And this was on a Friday night that I got the call, and they told me to pack my bags because I would be flying out to LA the very next day. So I canceled my plans for the weekend. I said, sorry Rachel, I can't go to the beach with you. I have to go film Dr. Phil. The next day came and I waited around all day waiting for my flight information, and then they told me that I would probably leave the next day. So the next day rolls around, I still have all my stuff together, and then I get the call saying that they actually exceeded the limit of number of guests or something like that, where they couldn't fit me onto the show because they already had enough people talking about the subject. However, they wanted me to do an entire hour by myself, because originally I was just supposed to be like a guest speaker, just be there for a couple of minutes, say my 2 cents, and then dip. But now they wanted me for a full episode, and they asked me who I have beef with, what's going on in my life, and about my family issues and everything like that. And I had just dropped a video about my ex-best friend, which was an option on the table, but I did not want to film anything with her. I had no intention, and still have no intentions, of mending that friendship. That's in the past. The only person that I wanted to mend my relationship with was my then ex-boyfriend, Nelson. Now, we had been on and off for a really long time. We had gotten into this vicious cycle of breaking up and getting back together, and then breaking up again, and him coming over to my apartment to talk, and it was just a cycle that I really wanted out of. I felt like we were reading the same book over and over again and expecting a different ending, and nothing was changing. So I thought that this would be a good opportunity to sit in front of a therapist and a mediator to help us work out our problems, whether it be for us to get back together or to go our separate ways. So my question to Dr. Phil was, is my relationship salvageable? And the producers loved this idea. Right after I got off the phone with them, I called Nelson, and me and Nelson were in a really weird place. We were not speaking. When we did speak, we fought, and we were trying to see each other for a while, but then I would back out or something would happen with his schedule, so we were just not in a good place. So for him to get a call from me, I'm sure he was shocked, and at first he was not about it at all. It took him some convincing, and that continued until we actually got on stage to film, but I'll get to all of that. Casting and interviewing for the show was very, very fast compared to my other shows. For my other shows, I would be casting and interviewing anywhere from a month to 6 months. Everything happened within a week's time for the Dr. Phil show. So I was doing interviews, sending photos, videos, all of that every single day up until I left for LA. So everything was very much accelerated. And during this time, Nelson kept backing out. It just seemed like every other day he would call me and be like, I can't do this, I don't want to do this anymore. And then I would try to convince him to do it. I told him it would be good for us to really put all our problems out on the table, and he finally agreed, and we both signed on to the show. Now, me and Nelson weren't the only 2 people interviewing for Dr. Phil, and he didn't know at the time, but my sister was also casting to be a part of the episodes. And it just made sense for my sister to join me on stage because she had been there through all of our ups and downs. Every time I got a DM from a female and I'd be crying or having panic attacks, she would be right there with me. As a matter of fact, Nelson would sometimes contact her when we'd be in a fight, and she would get worried, come to my apartment in the middle of the night, only for security not to let her up, because that's just how security is in my building. So she had been through it with me, and she had her feelings about him. So we all signed on to the show and our flights were booked for LA. Now we flew out the Saturday before we filmed. So that Saturday we got onto our flights and we were told that we would have ample time before we would actually have to film later that day. They told us we would have some B-roll stuff. So any of that background stuff that you see on the show, me looking at my phone, walking on the beach, that was all filmed that day. But when we got to the loft, which is actually not my house, there was a lot of confusion happening that the loft that these B-roll scenes were filmed in was my house. It is absolutely not. That is the Dr. Phil house. I will give you a house tour eventually, but that is not my place. So we get to the loft and we instantly start filming. I was like, oh my gosh, I look like crap. I've just been sitting on a plane for 6 hours. I've been up since 4 a.m. I look crazy, but thank God I had my hair done and we filmed all of our B-roll scenes for the day.
Untie it, please. And tie.
What? Yeah, I'm done.
I'm gonna send this to Mom.
Shante, do we have to clean this out?
No, I'm just trying to like...
When we leave? No. I don't know.
Hi, Mommy.
Hi. That took a few hours and then we were brought to our hotel, which was actually a really nice hotel in Hollywood. The area was kind of iffy, but the food at the hotel was really good. Accommodations were really nice and production was constantly checking in on us to make sure we were happy and we were fed and we felt good about filming the show. Nelson and I were put in different hotels. So when he got to his hotel, he contacted me trying to see me, but I wanted us to see each other on stage for the first time, considering we hadn't seen each other in 2 months, and I really wanted to keep those real and raw emotions when we first saw each other. And I knew that he had his worries about the show, but I genuinely was going on the show to mend my relationship. So we got to our hotel, we ordered a bunch of food, and we were told that we would have 2 days off from filming or doing anything before we actually filmed the episode. So my sister was like, bet, let's go to the pool party tomorrow, let's go drink, have a brunch. And that's exactly what we did until we got a call from production saying, hey, actually, we need you to come in and shoot some stuff, fill in some blanks that we were missing from yesterday's shoot, and then you can be on your way. So that kind of put a damper on our plans, but we knew for sure that Monday we would have all the time in the world to explore LA. My sister had not been to LA in a few years, so she was really excited. I took her to the Warner Brothers studio tour. I took her to Universal. We went out to eat like 5 times. Like, it was a really good day to just have fun, decompress, and relax before taping the next day. The morning of filming, I woke up. I was really nervous. They told us that we didn't have to be hair and makeup ready, but you know me, I'm very particular with my hair, my makeup, so I pretty much went ready. A PA picked us up really early and we made our way to Paramount Studios, and it didn't hit me that I was filming Dr. Phil until we saw the audience waiting outside to be seated, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is happening. This is a dream come true. I've been watching Dr. Phil since I was this tall, and this is just so crazy that I'm here right now, and I got really excited. But then I started to realize that I'm gonna have to confront Nelson soon, and I started to have panic attacks and get really nervous. Luckily, the production team was really nice and calmed me down, kept me grounded, and kept me focused, and told me that this would be really good for me. So me and my sister get brought up to our dressing room that we shared. It was really cute. I'll insert some footage here.
So this is our dressing room.
Right this way. We have a light here.
Okay, so we have a couch here, a chair here.
Couch here.
We have our table.
Light here. Come on, come into the
Mirror.
mirror.
Come on, bruh. I want to get everything.
So it wasn't long before hair, makeup, and wardrobe came in. I wanted to wear a ponytail, so I had to get that approved. Luckily it did. So the hair girl did snatch that pony and it looked amazing. Makeup was also really great. So we waited for a few hours. I was getting really anxious, but finally it was showtime. And one of the stage managers came upstairs to grab us and brought us into a small room. Now, mind you, I have not seen Nelson yet. When I say us, I'm talking about me and my sister. So they bring us into this room next to the stage where there's a TV. So we're able to see what's going on stage, see the audience, get more comfortable with the set, and I guess production could see how nervous I was getting, and I wasn't nervous to see Dr. Phil or be on camera or anything like that. I was more nervous to see Nelson, but they calmed me down and they told me that Dr. Phil would be really welcoming and warm and make me feel really comfortable on stage. But that's not what happened. So the clips start playing from X on the Beach, and then I was brought out on stage. They told me not to shake his hand or touch him unless he went for a handshake, which he did, so I shook his hand and sat down. Within 30 seconds of me sitting down, he began to drag me. So I sit down and he starts asking me questions about Nelson, just as I thought he would. But I was looking around, I was looking at the audience, I was looking at the cameras, my eyes were just everywhere, and he called me out on it. He was like, "Who are you talking to? I'm talking to you, you look at me." And it was really embarrassing at the time. I knew that Nelson was backstage watching. I knew that I had all these eyes on me. I was completely thrown off guard. And I've never talked about this, and I never wanted to talk about this, but I feel like this is a good opportunity to come clean about something and really share something personal with you guys that I have been battling for a really long time. I think since I was about 15. I was definitely in high school when I first noticed it, but some of you have noticed, some of you have called it out, some of you have even made fun of me for it, but I have ptosis in my left eye, and ptosis is when you have drooping of the eyelid. I have gotten 2 surgeries on my eyelid, neither of which helped, and it's just something that I have to deal with all the time. Some days are better than others for me. It depends on how tired I am. The morning I filmed Dr. Phil, I was exhausted, so my eye was drooping a little bit lower. And you're probably like, what does that have to do with looking at him while you're talking to him? So having ptosis has actually made me really insecure when it comes to looking people in the eye, and you probably noticed it before. Even when I'm filming videos, my eyes are kind of just going everywhere, and that's just something that I am used to. And I'm not sitting here playing victim like, oh my gosh, like he yelled at me and I have this condition and this and that. Him saying that actually made me more aware of looking people in the eye and how much people actually notice where my eyes go when I'm talking to them. So I thank him for that. So thank you, Dr. Phil, for calling me out, because now I'm able to address it and hopefully help other people in the same situation. And I don't want to get too deep into it because this isn't a medical video, but if you want me to talk about it in another video, if this is something that you suffer with or someone you know, let me know. I will definitely do a video on everything ptosis related. But him calling me out kind of threw off my game for the rest of the taping. I didn't feel like myself. He made me feel really, really small. He continued to attack me about me calling myself a reality star. Now, if you know me, you know that I don't call myself a star. I don't say that I have fans. I hate that word too. I'll tell you that I'm not anybody. I'm just like you. If you want to take a picture with me, I'll take 10 with you. Like, I don't think I am that cool. But back to the reality star thing. When I was doing my interviews, that's how they wanted me to introduce myself. That's how Dr. Phil introduced me and Nelson when we went on stage. He called us stars. So for him to say, oh, well, you're not a star if you still wear a name tag. You called me a star, your staff called me a star. I was just really taken aback by how much he made a joke out of my career and my life. I work really, really hard to support myself and my family, and I'm in a position where I'm able to do that right now. And to downplay all of that for the sake of a laugh from the audience, I felt was really disrespectful. I just kept thinking that thank God I have tough skin, and I have been in a position like this before where I've been on TV, I've been in front of an audience. I couldn't imagine being a regular person who has never done this before, who is sitting down for the first time in front of cameras and lights and an audience and, you know, producers and all of this huge production around them, only to get made fun of. And I've seen Dr. Phil before. These are people with bigger issues than me, who have been abused, who have psychological disorders. I thought about them when I was sitting on that stage, and I give props to anybody who goes up there, because if I was a normal person and wasn't used to this life, I wouldn't be able to do it. Like, I just thought that some of the things that were said were completely uncalled for. In the first episode, you also saw Nelson join me on stage, and seeing him for the first time in 2 months was really difficult, and a lot of things went through my head, but mostly I was angry because that weekend I had seen all over the T pages that he was out in Colorado acting a damn ass. He actually missed his flight to LA to tape the show. So seeing him for the first time, I literally wanted to go for the jugular, and that's exactly what I did. I was definitely on one, and I was ready to attack. And pretty much as soon as I saw him, I blacked out. I don't remember saying anything that I said. Like, watching it back over the past 2 days, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I don't remember saying that. That's crazy. What are you doing, Angela? Check your face. Like, it was just insane, and time was going by really fast. And before I knew it, my sister was on stage. Like I said, my sister has been through a lot with me, so she was ready to check him, and so they started going back and forth. And in my head, I was thinking, time is going by so fast on this stage. I do not want to waste any time of them bickering. I want to focus at the task at hand, which is working out me and Nelson's relationship. So that's why I stormed off stage, and I actually asked producers if they could remove my sister from the stage, and that really hurt me to have to do that because I knew how much she wanted to be there. But it was just turning into an all-out war on stage, and that's not what I wanted to go down. But what we did is agreed that Christina would just take a back seat and only basically speak when spoken to, as to not distract from what I was actually trying to get accomplished. And that's how the first episode ended. It ended with me storming off stage. Just a side note, I had no idea this was going to turn into 2 episodes. Production actually reached out to me a few weeks ago to let me know. So today part 2 aired, and it started with me rejoining everybody on stage. And this episode was particularly hard to watch because I had to relive moments that I really have been just trying to forget. Spoiler alert, me and Nelson are back together. I mean, you might have seen it at the end of the episode, but when we decided to get back together, we promised each other that we would put the past behind us and work towards our future. And even though he's made a ton of mistakes, I could not hold on to every mistake he's made and bring them up in arguments and constantly talk about it because we were making no progress. So I had agreed to put those things in the past. So to have to relive those moments today and yesterday was really difficult, and I actually started crying when I was watching it. I was like, I cannot do this. This is just bringing up bad memories. Today's episode also included the exercise I did with the life coach, which honestly, I think that Nelson needed more than me. I always felt like Nelson couldn't separate reality TV and the fame and the groupies and all that and the partying like I could. So I felt like that would have been a better thing for him to do, him talking to himself in 5 years and vice versa. I couldn't understand why it was me up there. And it also gave this misconception that I am self-centered and I depend on social media for self-worth and I'm just a fake reality TV person, which is completely untrue. If you know me, you know that I wouldn't have social media if I didn't make money from it. Like, this is my job. Just like anybody else goes to work their 9 to 5 or your night shifts or you work any type of job, this is mine. So I can separate the two. I don't depend on likes and comments and followers for my self-worth. That doesn't define who I am, and it never will. I just think there was some confusion there, the way Dr. Phil was saying that there's life after reality TV. We been knew that, Dr. Phil. I know there's life after reality TV, and that's what I work towards every single day of my life. I don't need to be preached on that. I also thought it was unfair that Nelson wasn't given any exercise or any opportunity to really look at himself in the mirror and face those issues. Side note, as all this is going down and as I'm doing my exercise and I'm hearing phone calls between him and the producers and all this stuff, I am shaking, I am crying, and on top of that, the stage is freezing. So a lot of the shivering and shaking I'm doing is just me being cold. It had nothing to do with anything else. I was obviously upset. A lot of the things that were talked about I had not known before, and it was just a shock to my system. But when you see me up there shaking, it's because the stage was like sub-zero temperatures. It was crazy. Before I knew it, the show was over and Dr. Phil shook my hand and walked off stage. stage to help his wife promote her skincare line. And in that moment, I knew that me and Nelson were not there to save our relationship. We were there to promote a book that the life coach was selling and his wife's skincare line, which is totally cool. I get it. Me and Nelson are bringing in a different type of audience. It's your opportunity to really sell those things to younger viewers, whatever. But that's when I knew that they didn't really care about us. They were just here to sell some stuff, and more power to them, whatever works for you, honey. It was actually funny though, because as Dr. Phil and Robin were doing their thing off to the side, me and Nelson were in the corner cussing at each other, and I'm surprised they didn't show it because we were going in on each other. The life coach actually had to tell us to chill out and like to calm down because we were taking away from Dr. Phil and his wife. Like the entire audience was looking at us just argue on stage. So that was one thing. As we were walking off stage, Nelson was like, Angela, I want to talk to you. And I was just, I had it. And then we went our separate ways, did our interviews. I trashed my dressing room. I was just so pissed at how everything went down between Nelson and also just how I felt used for the show. And I did my little interviews. Nelson was blowing up my phone, and I'm gonna leave that part of the story for another video because I would like him to be here with me when we talk about what happened after Dr. Phil. But at the same time, you guys know we're back together thanks to the lovely blurb at the end of part 2, which let me explain. At the end of the episode, Dr. Phil told me that he would follow me on Instagram to demonstrate what having a real relationship without oversharing is like, and he told me and Nelson that he would provide us counseling as well, which I gladly accepted. And as soon as I stepped off the stage, I signed the paperwork accepting that counseling, and they told me that they would contact me within a few days to set me up with a therapist in my hometown so I didn't have to travel back and forth to LA, which I was very, very grateful for. And they told us that we could either do couples counseling or individual therapy. And at that point, I was so done with Nelson. I was just more interested in individual therapy to get my mind right because I just felt all types of up. But at the end of the episode, it said something like we didn't follow Dr. Phil's advice and we wound up not going to counseling and we just got back together. So that is completely false. So I tried to go to counseling. Nobody called me. Nobody returned my calls. I just figured, okay, whatever. I guess that was just for the show. But then they decided to call me out on it at the end of the episode like I never pursued it, which is completely false. And we actually did take Dr. Phil's advice, which we will get into in a later video. But after all is said and done, I am thankful for all the opportunities that the Dr. Phil show has given me, as well as any show I've ever been on. I never want to seem like that ungrateful brat that just goes on a tangent and just talks a bunch of and doesn't talk about the good at all. It was definitely a fun experience. Would I do it again? Absolutely not. But I am thankful for all the opportunities that I have been given. If I didn't do shows like these, I wouldn't have as big of a platform as I do, so I am very grateful. But if you want to know more about what happened with me and Nelson after the Dr. Phil show, you're just gonna have to wait on that. We did film a Q&A, which I'll link down below, but we'll really get down to the nitty gritty in our next video, so stay tuned for that one. Until then, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you guys so much for watching.